Hi folks, my name is Zach Danks. I'm the wild turkey biologist for the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources. And today we'll be demonstrating how to make a nice tail fan mount and utilize the spurs on the gobbler that you've hopefully harvested this spring. First thing I like to do with the turkey is just flip it over on its belly so I can get to the fan pretty easy. And the first thing that you're going to want to do is get down here and find the anal opening. Okay, and from there, you'll get your sharp knife, fillet knife, what I like to use. So then we're just going to cut above the anal opening into the bird. You'll see when you lift the fan up, you can feel there's how these rectrices, these tail feathers, are really kind of together as one unit. So it'll make a nice, pretty easy, self-explanatory way to make the cut. Again, you're right above the anal vent there, and we're just going to cut on both sides of it. And there's a little bit of hide and cartilage there, so just cut, and it'll be pretty easy to remove. Okay, so we've got it off. So got a nice adult gobbler here. So an alternate use that you could do with the fan, it's pretty popular now with fanning as a hunting technique. You could actually take a fan of a gobbler or a jake and keep this in your hunting vest and use it during the season if you want. But we're going to treat this as a trophy. So move this guy out of the way for a second. Okay, so when you do this, you're going to want to try to trim off as much of the fleshy material that you can. Because if you don't get it off, eventually it could promote rot on this thing, and hopefully you want to keep this for a good long while. So, and another thing I'll talk about too is, in addition to the big long tail feathers, the rectrices, you also want to keep at least some of these. At least I think it's nicer when you can keep some of these coverts, just because of the nice iridescence you get there. So we've got the fan off, and we're keeping these on the front, but these on the back we don't really need. Okay, so you're going to pull those down, and we'll actually we can pull a lot of these out. And we'll just, if you're doing this inside, obviously have a trash can handy. So we're going to pull off a lot of these to get them out of the way, because they're not really needed. And that's going to expose a lot more of this fleshy material that you're going to need to cut out. So you'll be looking like that. And you don't want to be too crazy with your trimming, because you can loosen the feathers too much. So we don't want to do that. But we do want to get big hunks of flesh like this removed best we can. By the way, this is a really inexpensive way to make a nice simple trophy of your bird. I'm sure taxidermists have their own ways of doing it, and you can get really fancy, but again, for working on the cheap, and it's a great way to preserve every trophy that you take, every bird that you take. And it's an easy way to get kids involved, and they can help with the process, getting ready, getting set up, and if they're old enough, of course, doing the knife work too. So I've gotten quite a bit of that removed. Now the next step is going to be to help preserve this. Of course, the best thing is to have some borax on hand. Just most folks have it in the kitchen under the sink. So I grabbed some of that and using a coffee can here, and I've got some in there. So then I'm just going to take the fan and just dip it in the can generously, coat it pretty good. You want it to get all that fleshy areas that you've exposed. Swish it around liberally. Okay, so now we've got it on there pretty well. Get it on this side too, just a little bit. Okay, all right. So now we've trimmed that back, and the next thing you're going to need is either a piece of plywood, or in this case I've got a nice piece of easy piece of cardboard. And for this, we're going to use this just to help us pin the fan down and spread it out. So for this, you can use some tacks if you've got them, if they're long enough, or some nails. So the first thing I like to do is to stick it right down through the middle. I've got to find a good place to get through. So I'll press it down right there. Ultimately, you're going to want to spread this about 180 degrees. So then you'll just take a nail, and we'll do this side, these outer rectices. Okay. All right. So that's not quite perfect, but you'll see I've got them at 3 points, and then from here, it's just going to be spreading the nails out along, basically behind every feather, trying to get a good spread. And some people like to turn it over and do it the other way. I like to do it this way myself, because I think the final product looks a little nicer. Once you get that done, I like to go ahead and take some more of the borax and just be pretty liberal with it again, just to, you know, coat the full surface. Now, just pretty obvious, I guess, but you wouldn't want the borax to be, or the fan or anything to be where kids or pets could get to it, because it wouldn't be, definitely not something they need to get into. So you need to find a good place where you can set this to dry for, you know, I like to do mine for at least 2 or 3 weeks just to make sure it's good and firm. Longer doesn't hurt either. Once it gets dry and you're ready to actually make it look nice, we've got 3 examples on the cedar tree over here. The top 2 have the spurs there with the beard and the fan, which is a really nice touch, whereas the bottom one just has the fan. So all different ways you could do this. You can customize it. I'm sure there's tons of great ideas on the internet, but if you're in a hurry like me and you got baseball and soccer to get to, you're going to probably just be doing good to get a simple mount. So that's the fan. All right, so now we'll switch over to dealing with the spurs. Okay, so now we're just going to show you how to remove the spurs. It's really simple. If you have a Sawzall, some kind of quick reciprocating saw, or a hacksaw, any kind of small saw, it's real easy to do. A knife and try to trim this up a little bit. These tenons are pretty tough, so once we've got this done, if you had a regular screwdriver, it'd be great. We got a Gerber tool here, Leatherman, with a screwdriver on it, so it's pretty simple. I just help ream that stuff out, and you know, again, start the drying, preserving process. So then again, we've got our borax. It doesn't hurt to dip it in there, and you know, again, if you had a longer screwdriver, it's probably good to ream it all the way down and get all that stuff out. All right, so we've got basics for a simple trophy preservation for your bird that you've harvested. And of course, you could do this with a hen or a bird harvested in the fall, either way. The main thing is that you hopefully had a great hunt, you brought home some meat, and have a nice little trophy to remember things by. And it's really important, I think, to keep, not just keepsakes of the hunt, but a true token of appreciation for the animal itself.